What is up, everybody? Sysadmin Sean here, and today we are finally getting around to doing the Zabbix install, and I'm actually going to use a new guide that some folks are working on. Let me get that thrown up here, called the Zabbix book. We're going to give it a try. It's been promoted a lot in the Reddit by the people that are working on it, and they're looking for feedback, so let's record ourselves doing an install and give some feedback. So first things first, we'll get our server up here. And then I'm going to pull this down here so I can see it. Now, this guide is built for either doing, it's really thorough, actually. They give you information about how much you need. You need a Zabbix server, a database server, and a web server. And of course, you can do all of these pieces together on one, which is what we'll be doing, but you can also split them up, and they describe how to do this. Most everything is set up for Rocky or Ubuntu, so we'll be following the Rocky quote-unquote Red Hat variant guide, and we're going to get started with some prereqs. So the first thing we got to do is make sure Firewall D is installed, which I am pretty sure it is. Look at that, and then we will make sure it's enabled. And hopefully that won't boot me out. Cool, it didn't. We'll allow the Zabbix server service, and then we will allow the port. If the service is not recognized, we were recognized, so that's cool. If we do firewall-cmd-list all zones, because I'm lazy, we will see that we should see this port number in our active. Oh my goodness. Here's our active. Services cockpit, DHCP. Now, it did not complain, but it didn't add that port. So let's go ahead and just add the port instead. It is 10,051 TCP. Cool. Goes over what Firewall D is. That's kind of nice of them. An alternative approach to define dedicated firewall zones for specific use cases. I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to use one zone. It's fine. We are going to, we're not going to do that part. NTP, we're going to skip over that. We're fine with NTP configuration. Scroll. Verifying NTP, cool. So that's under the system requirements. Now this will throw you if you're not careful. Let me pull this back up real quick. If you look here, it says installation, but if you click this, it's not really the installation. This is more of the configuration start. What you want to do is go to Zabbix components and then go to basic installation. And this is where they actually go through all the install steps for actually installing Zabbix. And we're going to go through picking a database. So you can see over here, we're going to do everything via PostgreSQL because it's just what I'm familiar with. Or you know what, let's do MariaDB just for funds. And we'll install Zabbix server and then install a front end, and we'll pretty much be done. So let's get started. Move this over here, go back to our terminal. All right, so we're doing MariaDB. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to make a MariaDB repo. So they basically have us make a file, slam that bad boy in there. That should be fine. And then we've already done an update this morning, so we're not going to worry about that. So we'll just go ahead and install MariaDB server. Oh, I hit that stash a lot. So grab that. It's going to grab some prereqs, cool beans. Yeah, we're cool with that. We trust it. Yeah, we're cool with that. Consider joining MariaDB's strong and vibrant community. And then we're going to enable the service. So that's getting kicked on. We will go ahead and follow their instructions and check the version, because why not? Looks like we're running 11.4.7, which is a little bit newer than what's in their documentation. No big deal there. And then we'll get status, which I don't think it'll be on. They even have a really cool little output here saying that it shows, oh, it is active running, service loaded. And it gives you a little info. I really like that they put that in here. So next thing we got to do is we got to secure this database. So let's grab this line. Quit. Enter current root password. You already have a root account protected, so you can safely answer no. Oh, no. We can safely answer no. We can safely answer no. We don't have any anonymous users. Usually root for blah, 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 blah. I do not want to disallow root login remotely. Remove the test database. Yeah, sure. And reload privilege table. Cool. All done. Read those yourself. Make your own decisions. What's best for you. And then we're going to log into the database. Now, their command doesn't have a space in the -r or under user. Seems to work fine. So cool beans. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a... interesting. So they showed this. I'm pretty sure you can just put localhost here. And then we will put in here, we'll call the password Zabbix. Yep. We'll do that again for the Zabbix server account. If MariaDB complains later, it's my own fault. Oh, semicolon. Ta-da. Grant all privileges on Zabbix to Zabbix serve. Localhost. You really shouldn't do localhost, but we're doing localhost. You should put the actual IP address. But it's fine. And then we'll do a flush. You're a DBA. And then they want us to activate temporary extra privileges for non-root users. In some cases, especially instead of Zabbix MariaDB, you might encounter issues related to stored functions and triggers if binary logging is enabled. To address this, you need to set the log bin trust function creator option to 1 in the MariaDB configuration file. This allows non-root users to create stored functions and triggers without requiring super privileges, which are restricted when binary logging is enabled. We'll go ahead and do this even though we're root. Just so it looks like a real install. And there we go. Warning, the Zabbix documentation. It is extremely stated that deterministic triggers need to be created during schema import. On MySQL and MariaDB systems, this requires setting global log, blah, 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 blah. We did all that. So now we will add the firewall rules. If we want our Zabbix server to connect to our DB, then we also need to open a firewall port. Now, that's really more of a, if we have it on a separate thing, I'm pretty sure. We're not, it's all local. But we'll go ahead and put it in. Yay. All right. Populate the Zabbix MariaDB. So we're going to grab an RPM file from the Zabbix repo, 7.2, release, Rocky 9. Hope this is a Rocky 9 machine. Actually, I better check. Uname -A. Yeah, it is. Cool. Go me. Doing things up to date. We'll run a DNF clean all. And then we will install the Zabbix SQL scripts. So far, I'm pretty impressed with this guide. It's pretty smooth and nice. All right, there we go. And now we are uploading the data from Zabbix. So that make sure we use the Zabbix serve and we upload it to the database Zabbix. So there we go, there we go. And it should ask for, really? That's not my password though. Not for user root. Now let's upload the data from Zabbix, DB structure, images, user. For this, we make use of the user Zabbix serve and we upload it all in our DB Zabbix. So MariaDB, okay. We're using the root though. This isn't the Zabbix serve user. Unknown database Zabbix. Did we not build our database? We found our first little hiccup. We created users, but we didn't actually create the Zabbix database. Ah, I see. They don't have one of their steps highlighted the way they have other steps. So let's get back in there. MariaDB -u root -p. Bang. Now we may need to redo this line. And redo this line. Because we didn't see this. I wish it had tab complete. Now let's try this. So we're doing a zcat on user share Zabbix SQL scripts MySQL server SQL.gzip. Getting the data, sending it to MariaDB using the default character set that we set when we built the database for user uroot for when we're using root, but it says in the notes here that we should be using the Zabbix serve account. So they might want to update this step too. I'm going to assume that this is doing stuff. So we might fast forward through it a little bit. Yep, there we go. Now we're going to hope it's done. So once that is finished, it says we need to log back in as root. And we need to, once the import of the schema is complete, you no longer need to log bin trust function global parameter. So we're going to set that parameter back. And there we go. And now we're moving on to installing the Zabbix server for MariaDB. So let's check our SE status. It's enabled and enforcing. We don't want that right now. Set enforce 0. Now you'll see we were permissive. That's good enough for right now. We could turn it off completely, but I do not recommend it. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we need to add the Zabbix repo next to download the software. But the one precursor is we need to edit the EPL repo. ncm.repos.d. I don't even have EPL on here. So we're going to call it fine for right now. So we'll grab the Zabbix repo. Is that going to grab both? Cool. Yeah, it does. So I grab that. Bang, bang. It's already installed. Awesome. And now we're going to install Zabbix server. MySQL edition. I'm kind of worried that since I don't have EPL on this deployment, that there might be an issue, but we'll see. We run into anything, we can fix it. But basically, they're pointing out if you have EPL attached, you need to make sure that you don't download any Zabbix packages from that repo, and they should go through the instructions on how to block that, which is really good. It's pretty good for all repos if you know that you don't want to grab certain updates, like maybe somebody in your workplace is like, listen, you can patch this, but don't touch package X. You can put a little thing in there that says exclude package inside the repo, and it won't patch certain things for you. Very handy. All right. First thing we need to do is, oh gosh, I use Vi. Let's see, Zabbix, zabbixserver.com. We are going to make some modifications to this file for our environment. So we're looking for DB host. Default. if set the local host cycle is used for it. So we'll do that. DB name, Zabbix DB user. We did Zabbix SRV. DB password. We set this to, so it's your super secret password. So it's Zabbix. And then the socket will be 3306. Actually, we're doing DB port. But we're using local socket, so I don't think we need this. If you're not using local socket, you need to do here. If you're using local socket, pretty sure you just leave this alone. It should be fine. And we're not touching that right now. So we'll skip that note. Skip that note. All right, we are done here. Let's start the service and see what happens. Maybe we'll get an error message. Who knows? Nope, no error. Cool. So we can check the Zabbix server log to see if we're actually doing anything. Zabbix agent vfs.vfs.get host Zabbix server failed. First network error, wait 15 seconds. Unreachable polar, ping, 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 ping. I don't know what all it's trying to look for. Look for message indicating the server started successfully. If there are any issues, the log file will provide help in troubleshooting. I usually do this. Systems EDL statics, Zabbix service. It appears to be running. So we're going to go with that for now. All right. And now we go into installing the front end. Okay, so they've got a little cleanup to do in here. Install front end packages. Hang on. DNF install Zabbix engine X comp Zabbix web. Yep. Okay, this one. This section could use a little touch up. So we're grabbing the Nginx, PHP, and all that jazz for this main thing. In this configuration, first thing we have to do is alter Nginx file so that we don't use the standard config. I don't really care. I'm kind of fine with the standard config, all things considered, but you guys should not use the standard config. So let's get this thing started and see how it looks. At least I hope we can see how it looks. All right, let's see. 192.168.30.10. We might have to open the port, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, that's what I thought. And we'll reload. Bloop. Hey, hey. And let's turn this on. And there we go. Now we just go through this configuration real quick. So we'll hit next. Everything's okay. No errors there. Cool beans. We'll hit next. Yep. Sure. Database name is Zabbix. User is Zabbix. Okay, so this is for the web. So we want to do Zabbix web and then put in our password for that. Do not save. Localhost. And next up, finish. Okay, let's see. There must be a default password. Install on the front end. We did all that. Scroll. Configure the firewall. Then they go through this instruction set. That's nice. They have language packs in case English is not your first language. They've added Chinese here in their example. All that's good. Here we go. Admin, Zabbix. So let's get in there. Was it like that? Hey, it was like that. And there we go. We have Zabbix installed and it's already monitoring itself. So we can see that it doesn't have the agent installed. No big deal there. So let's go through a quick rundown of what all there is in Zabbix, because this is the part that gets pretty daunting. You'll notice it started me here in Riga. You can change the map. You can adjust your time if you need to. You can monitor stuff like Zabbix server front end version, where all your ports and stuff are, how many items you're monitoring, triggers and checks and all that. We have one host, so obviously we can see that. You can click on a dashboard for a host, and it will give you not a whole lot since I don't have a Zabbix agent. But the quick and dirty is monitoring problems board, hosts board, latest data board. Maps is cool when you set them up. Services, same thing as, you can set your SLAs, all your monitoring SLA reports. Your inventory is where you kind of have everything show up. This one is a big one that you kind of stay out of. You can go in here and do an overview, but most of the time you're going to spend your time here looking at problems and figuring out what you need to fix. Data collection is where you put everything in. So there are template groups. As you can see, there is a ton of templates by default. So this is where Zabbix excels well beyond the Nagios and Ashinga and everything. It comes with a ton of stuff. So if we wanted to monitor, or is it? It's got to be in here. There has to be a MariaDB. There's MySQL. That would probably pretty much cover it. You could attach that once you install the Zabbix agent. Actually, it'll probably find it and want to attach it. And it'll start letting you monitor everything like your databases, how many connections are being made, how often it's getting hit, how much data it's using, blah, blah, blah. There is stuff in here for power. So if you have APC units that you want to monitor, exact wattage, temperature control stuff is in here. Network device type. So if you want to monitor Dell switches and things like that. And of course, you can always add more templates. You can go in the templates and you can see all of them in here. You can go to import and there's tons of template files you can download. A lot of vendors actually make their own templates for Zabbix now and let you download it so that you can monitor their equipment in Zabbix so that they don't have to build a monitoring tool for you. And then in here is how you add your hosts. You create a host. You can import a list of hosts from a CSV. I do believe you can pull like a demo version of the CSV so you can figure out exactly what fields you need. And then here's where you set up your users and your alerting, and it can do pretty much any alerting you ever want it to do. But that's the quick and dirty Zabbix install following the guide. Now, all that said, the guide covers every other piece, right? So your proxies, your collecting data, triggers, templates. This is important. Triggers are super important. Really great. They don't have any info in here yet. I guess I'm going to have to add some documentation for them because it looks like they're trying to build a really cool thing here, but it's kind of empty. Let's go back to triggers again. Yeah, there's nothing in here yet. So I'm going to try to add some stuff in here because we have built a ton of stuff in our environment to monitor things like Horizon environment, different server checks, again, temperature control systems, all that kind of stuff. And we use the dashboards and we use network maps and all sorts of crazy stuff here. So this is a good start to a book. It definitely got us on the install. Highly recommend. If you want to help contribute to this, by all means, they are always looking for contributors. Supporters and contributors. The book is a community effort. We sincerely appreciate time and knowledge shared by contributors. From writing and reviewing content, providing feedback, and sharing expertise, your efforts have helped. Blah, blah, blah. They have information on how to join the community. And, you can basically you do it via Git. Pretty awesome. So that's it. That's Zabbix. You're done. You're not done at all. You've barely scratched the surface of everything you're going to have to do. Obviously, there's a ton of integrations available. A lot of different companies have a lot of cool products that tie into Zabbix really well. You can set up stuff like SSO, which I highly recommend. You have to set up API keys for certain things. You'll have to set up certificates to monitor agents and stuff like that. If you're interested, let me know down below in the comments if that's what you want to see more of, and I can dig through my work configs and bring home sanitized information to show off. But I'm not getting a lot of viewership on these videos, so I'm not putting in a lot more effort unless people say they want more effort. And I do have one more monitoring tool to show off. I think it was called, they wanted me to do Grafana and something, Prometheus and Grafana. as a way to do monitoring. So I might do that one as a live stream. I'm not sure. And I have some other videos coming up, so stay tuned for those, and we'll see you in the next one.